Welcome back, writers. Today we are going to continue our writing series of Dayton's Anointing. And while we talk about this, we're going to talk about one of the hardest things about writing. And it is very ironic because this book is spiritual fiction, because the hardest thing about writing is it's the mental game of it all. And the reason why we're going to talk about this is because it came up this morning in my own life, and I do my best to lead by example. When you write, you're going to have to learn to meet yourself where you are at. Each writer is a little bit different. Each person has their own style, their own scheduling constraints that they're going to have to work around. So, this morning, even though I was scheduled to write and sit down and make a video and document this process for all of you, I was not really feeling it. I did not feel well this morning, so I gave myself some grace and I met myself where I was at. And I decided to just do it after I handled some other things. So here we are later in the day, continuing our writing session. And this is something that I guarantee everyone will probably have to do. There's going to be some time where your schedule just doesn't go according to schedule, and you will have to figure out a way to be as consistent as possible, even if that means taking off a day or pushing it back. It just has to happen sometimes. And because writing requires so much of our personality and our mind, I find that it's best to do it when your mind is in a good place. Um, Unless you're writing some emotional poetry where you trauma dump and or just vent in general, then being in a bad place is good for those types of writing. But for what we're doing, I want my mind to be sharp. I want my mind to be clear. I want the creative juices to be able to flow. So I'm just doing this while I'm in momentum. I just completed some other tasks. So it is a perfect time to sit down and write. We are going to write chapter 7 today. And before we do, we will recap what happened in chapter 6. So we introduced Master Shui. We have his first lines, and we foreshadowed this tale that explains the condition of what one of our main characters is going through. So to him, it's just been this crazy thing that happened, and now he has these powers that he doesn't understand. But the Master Shui, he has some insight, and we have foreshadowed that in chapter 6. So what we're going to do in chapter 7 is we are going to kind of set the scene for that. And as I always say, that the flow is everything. Everything when I write, I want it to flow from one sentence to the next, from one paragraph to the next, from one page to the next. I want it to be a book that you don't want to put down. That is the goal. I want this to be a book that people want to continue to read. I want them to binge it like a Netflix series. So, we're going to reread the last paragraph, so this way we know flow wise where to start in chapter 7. If you're new, I haven't outlined this book at all. We are just letting the story come to us each session. So the last paragraph goes as such. The young men gave each other a look that finished the sentence. Nothing needed to be said, at least not yet. For now, listening was their priority. They were in a pit of ignorance, and Master Sway had answers. So I think Master Shui had answers, which is a nice, good, cliffhanger that we ended on. You want to end, I'm writing in a thriller style. Like, I want every ending to a chapter or a scene to be leading into the next. I want it to be one that is drawing people and making them want to turn the page. Like I said earlier, we want them to binge this book like a Netflix series. I want them to be up all night reading it, like when they can. I want them to not want to put it down. If they do put it down, I want them to pick it right back up as soon as they can. So I'm going to end pretty much all of the chapters on some type of cliffhanger, and I'm going to begin all the chapters with an attention getter. Something that is just lures people in, bait. I want something that gets them to read the whole page, that makes them want to read the whole page. So, because we foreshadowed that tale, we are going to say, sit down, boys, as I tell you the tale passed down by my forefathers. Do our little formatting there. And I don't need to say who said that because it should be understood that Master Shui had answers. So now, when I say sit down, boys, as I tell you the tale passed down by my forefathers, that should be presumed to be Master Shui. So I don't have to I don't have to say that. It's already implied based on how I phrase the sentence. So when you write and you sit down and you tell your stories, try to keep these things in mind. I'm purposely making Master Shui talk in an old fashioned way because he's an old man. Um, I'm purposely having him be more formal. I'm purposely giving him a ye old style of communication. So when you design your characters, just keep in mind you want to be able to just say the words that they're saying or type the words that they're saying and not have to always say they said, he said, she said. Like you don't want to have to beat that drum every single time you want to have some dialogue. So we're going to continue. Sit down, boys, as I tell you the tale passed down by my forefathers. Let's go. Um, Drayton and LaShawn planted there. Let's see. Sit down, boys, as I tell you the tale passed down by my forefathers. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back. Let's see. It was a simple command and strong enough to make Drayton. Uh, I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna say Drayton. I'm gonna say all three plant themselves to the dojo floor. Let's see. Hmm. Like budding fruit trees waiting to be watered. So instead of just saying they sat down, right, I'm purposely adding more imagery. I'm purposely using a literary device, right? I'm using a simile to give more imagery to the whole scene, right? It was a simple command and strong enough to make all three of them plant themselves to the dojo floor like budding fruit trees waiting to be watered. Now, I could have gone more specific than fruit trees. Who knows? I may go back and make that more specific just to make the imagery even more vivid. But for now, we're just going to keep going. It was a simple command and strong enough to make all three of them plant themselves to the dojo floor, like budding fruit trees, waiting to be watered. Wiggins was the most attentive of all. His keen senses had noticed the change in Drayton's appearance immediately. I feel like that's not how you spell immediately. Well, I'll spell check that later. He had learned there was a time for every question. Thankfully, this was one he didn't have to ask. I'll say did not have to ask. Hmm. I'll say, and then we'll go. This story starts in a past much more cruel than ours. Is that even possible? Replied LaShawn. And then we'll say, ha, boy, you know so little. Ha. I won't say boy again. Ha, you know so little. Sit still and be quiet as the master enlightens enlightens us. Now, hopefully, the reader will get that that is Wiggins talking right there. That should be implied with how formal it is. Because he's referring to them as the master, but he's also using words like enlightened. So that should give a sense of more dignity and more formal speaking, someone that is also their teacher. But people oftentimes do not get that, so I will add another line just in case to add a little layer of depth. And I'll just say he's keep on wanting to say law, LaShawn. He's right, Sean. Uh, we need to listen. And then after that, I'll put in italics, I need to listen. This way, I'm kind of describing Drayton's thoughts So now it's I didn't just say that that was Wiggins talking, but I said he's right, LaShawn. So I have LaShawn speaking, I have someone else speaking, and then I have boom, he's right, LaShawn. We need to listen. That is another layer that says, okay, that's Drayton, and it says I need to listen. So these are Drayton's thoughts. In the distant past, in the distant past, the factions were in a free for all. Yeah, I'm not even gonna make it one word. Each one divided. Each one divided every individual. Hmm, fighting for territory. In the distant past, the factions were in a free for all. Each one divided. Each clan uh, hmm, each one divided uh, alliances. Alliances sprouting up. Because this we're gonna this I'm using the word sprouting because it's gonna play back into the fruit trees that I mentioned earlier. So it sticks with that kind of theme. Alliances sprouting up and crumbling. Alliances sprouting up by day and crumbling by night. Each fight was pivotal. Hmm. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna start higher in the chapter. As I always say, as I like to remind you all, stories were first said, they were spoken. So as we're writing this, I'm going to rewind and read it to make sure it sounds good as I say it, because that is how the original stories were told. I want someone to be able to read this out loud and for it to sound good. So I'm going to read it out loud. Sit down, boys, as I tell you the tale passed down by my forefathers. It was a simple command and strong enough to make all three of them plant themselves to the dojo floor like budding fruit trees waiting to be watered. Wiggins was the most attentive of all. His keen senses had noticed the change in Drayton's appearance immediately, but over the years he had learned there was a time where every question. Thankfully, this was one he did not have to ask. This story starts in a past much more cruel than ours. Is that possible? Replied Drayton. Ha! You know little. Sit still and be quiet as the master enlightens us. Uh, I'm going to put the word so in here. Ah, you know so little. Sit down and be quiet as the master enlightens us. He's right, LaShawn. We need to listen. I need to listen. In the distant past, the factions were in a free for all, each one divided, alliances sprouting up by day and crumbling by night. Each fight was pivotal. Um, each fight was pivotal, and the war waged, uh, and the chaos. Uh, each fight was pivotal. Chaos reigned as king. Uh, Chaos reigned as king. Hmm. Now, I want to, the next thing I want to do now is to introduce another race, another species. So I'm trying to think of what creature could I introduce that has the ability of foresight, right? These are going to be our oracles. So I want to create a being or reference one that is already known that has some kind of clairvoyant ability. And I already introduced three. So I have the Bronsons, which are just like the warmongering race. I have the Van Leeches, which are essentially like slick talking. Well, not really. No, I have the Van Leeches. They're like vampires essentially, so they can convert other beings to their side. And then let's see, what was the other one that I introduced in the very beginning? Um. Oh yeah, the Slygons, the merchants with the slick tongues, the slick speech. So the Slygons are good at negotiating deals and swindling people. I could make the Vam Leeches the Oracle one. I feel like that's not too far fetched to have an Oracle style vampire. Um, but I also would have to tie in how Master Shui, like this hints at Master Shui's race, and they're in Bronson territory. So it's kind of implied that he's a Bronson, but we shall see. Um, Maybe I should create a different race then, and just have it be one that can get along with the Bronsons, or maybe she went to the Bronsons for yeah. I think we're gonna go with that. I think we're gonna have reigned as king, and then we'll say then one night the Vam Leech. Is that how I spelled it in the beginning? Let's see. No. Well, I said Vam Leeches, but I'll just say Vam Leech like this. Then one night, the Vam Leech priestess came fleeing into a remote Bronson province. Maybe not province. Village. Then one night, the Vam Leech priestess came fleeing into a remote Bronson village. She was soaked in her own blood. She was soaked in her own blood and bleed and leaking more than she could sustain. Uh, and leaking more than she could sustain. Put it that way. Leaking more than she could sustain. Uh, her her rulers her rulers had beat her crimson. For ordaining, I won't say telling because that's not as mythical. For ordaining a prophecy they did not wish to hear. Drayton. His words captured Drayton. I'll say that. Shui's words captured Drayton. Mm. He was a fish on a hook. Let's see. Her rulers had beat her crimson for ordaining a prophecy they did not wish to hear. Shui's words captured Drayton. He was a fish on a hook, one that was swimming upstream. Upstream towards a waterfall. Okay. Her rulers had beat her crimson for ordaining a prophecy they did not wish to hear. Shui's words captured Drayton. He was a fish on a hook, one that was swimming upstream towards a waterfall. Unknown, unknowingly sinking. unknowingly sinking his destiny deeper into his flesh. Uh, when they finally calmed her down, she told them this. And then we'll go with um we'll do more italics. One day a child will be born to end all wars. A walking calamity. One day a child will be born, a walking calamity, belonging to no major faction. He will bring them to their knees. Walking, yeah, he will bring them to their knees. All right. Let's see. Hmm. The boys were reminiscing. I'll have to spell check that later. Yeah, reminiscing about what happened to Dustin. The events occurred so quickly. Let's see. Bring them to their knees. The boys reminiscing about what had happened. About what had happened to Dustin. The events occurred so quickly that even the memories were so quickly that even the memories were fleeting. For Drayton, they happened. For Drayton, they were only an instant. Instant. Instinctual. Instinctual. Something like that. There we go. Instinctual. Please tell me more, Master. I must know. There is more, but it is not mine to tell. The rest is inscribed on an old tablet in the central dominance. Okay. The boys were reminiscing about what had happened to Dustin. The events occurred so quickly that even the memories were fleeting. For Drayton, they were only an instant. Instinctual. Please tell me more, Master. I must know. There is more, but it is not mine to tell. The rest is inscribed on an old tablet in central dominance. And this, I mean, the part that'll probably upset some readers is that it doesn't really explain. Um, I'll go back and I'll with scars, striping his limbs. Yeah, we'll put it like that. One day, a child will be born to end all wars. A walking calamity with scars striping his limbs. Belonging to no major faction, he will bring them to their knees. He will bring them all to their knees. The boys were reminiscing about what had happened to Dustin. The events occurred so quickly that even the memories were fleeting. For Drayton, they were only an instant. Instinctual. Please tell me more, Master. I must know. There is more, but it is not mine to tell. The rest is inscribed on an old tablet in the central dominance. Honestly, I think we will end it here because that is another cliffhanger. As another cliffhanger, I think the tale describes Drayton enough that you get that it's him, but not too much that there still is more to tell. And we end on this central dominance. The next chapter, we will talk about like how dangerous the central dominance is and how dangerous the journey to get there is going to be, because him going to the central dominance will probably be our like climax where he battles like the leader of the Bronsons and he gets the tablet so he can finally find out what is going on with him. So that's probably what this novel will be, and I'm enjoying where the story is going. I hope you are too. I think this is going to be a good first one in the series. So the first book, we will have him travel through Bronson territory, grow, discover himself, and his final like rite of passage will be defeating the Bronson boss and achieving the tablet and finding the tablet and being able to read what is going on with him. And then we will have him battle the Slygons. We'll have him battle the Van Leeches, and we'll see where this all goes. But I hope you all have enjoyed this series, and if this helps even one of you tell your story and bring the stories that are trapped within you to life, then I have achieved my mission. I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you writers next time.